Well, when we know what our soul voice sounds like, we do. And we also have our ego self, our personality construct. And I would say that the nattering that you're talking about, that you're not happy, you're not this, not that, is not your soul voice. Because your soul voice, your soul speaking to you is very soft and kind and quiet and subtle. And it's more of a knowing. And there is this, what a soul voice would feel like, which you did hear, was that the tears that came and the knowing that this is not where I'm supposed to be. That is your soul. You're not happy, this isn't right, what are you supposed to be doing, why are you doing this job? That's not your soul. That's your personality construct, like causing you a lot of suffering and stress.
So I'm so excited to have my first guest podcast with Wendy V. Thought you'd like that. AKA Sankalpa. I don't know where I would be without you, Wendy. Yeah, my goodness, your retreat, the Soulful Escape down in the South Island. I was so called to the Marlborough Sounds and didn't know why, had no idea, breaking down in tears on the side of the road doing Joe Dispenza's walking meditations, being there. And yeah, blow me down if your retreat ended up being in Aharoa. Yeah, it wasn't quite the Marlborough Sounds, but it was darn close. Had to get a boat ride to get there, and by the end of it, once he'd unpacked the whole humanness of us, that we aren't just this meat suit, that we have a whole lot of layers, emotional, energetic. I'll let you go deep on that. And yeah, as I said, I pinned myself to the ground and I wasn't going home. It was like, I don't want to go back to her and the burnout and this overachiever, ridiculous life that I created. So yeah, don't know what I would have done without your retreat, and I don't know what I would do without you on the daily. You must be up to like 260 views of your your breathwork meditation that I do every day. And yeah, you're such a genius at weaving your voice with music. And yeah, in your yoga I do every day. I've stopped watching that one live. I've managed to completely know what that magic practice is off by heart. So yeah, I just wanted to bring you on as my first and talk about soul alignment, because I just talk about that all the time, like all about alignment, and my son's like, oh my god, like just do you just on and on about coming into alignment. So, and it's thanks to you, Wendy, that I always use that vocab. So here we go.
That's so lovely. And yeah, that was very, very special. And the arrival to the leaving was so special at the retreat. And I remember when you first walked in, when we had our opening circle, and it really was a really magical time, and everybody who came together, and what I loved so much is that yourself and everybody who was there was willing to just go on the journey, and of course when we open ourselves up without resistance, and when we really in our soul are calling for change, it will show up, and we will get what we need, regardless sometimes of who facilitates it. However, it was just a perfect synchronicity. We were very aligned, and the teachings resonated. Yeah, it was really profound, and really what I loved was watching your journey after that. It was amazing, the bravery and everything else, and the willingness to really listen to your soul, and that's what I would say is absolute soul alignment.
So coming back from that version of myself that made that decision, there was always this voice in my head. Like there was always this really annoying, like, you're not happy. Da, 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 da. So what would you call that voice. Would you call that your soul voice? But I'd love to hear your unpack of that because
Oh, well, when we know what our soul voice sounds like, we do. And we also have our ego self, our personality construct. And I would say that the nattering that you're talking about, that you're not happy, you're not this, not that, is not your soul voice. Because your soul voice, your soul speaking to you is very soft and kind and quiet and subtle, and it's more of a knowing. And there is this what a soul voice would feel like, which you did hear, was that the tears that came and the knowing that this is not where I'm supposed to be. That is your soul. You're not happy, this isn't right, what are you supposed to be doing, why are you doing this job? That's not your soul. That's your personality construct, like being, causing you a lot of suffering and stress. And that is what it's trying to be helpful, but ultimately it can only work within a limited construct. And so we do need to have a retreat or have an experience or have an opportunity to be able to listen to that more quiet, subtle knowing, as opposed to, even though that voice is probably trying to wake you up and steer you in the right direction, you end up just going round and round and round in circles. So there is definitely different, and we all know there is a difference, and we've all felt the difference. It's just learning to listen more subtly to that quiet knowing, as opposed to the nattering.
So how did you get the calling to help people with this coming into soul alignment? How did that drop for you?
Well, it's a journey, obviously, as it is, but it's interesting because recently somebody asked me, like, why do you want to be a coach or something? And I was just like, actually, the only answer I could truly say is that I don't want to be, I just am. It just is who I am. And yeah, coach is one way of explaining it and saying it, but it's support. I am a soul support. And in my many incarnations over the last, 35 plus years of being in business for myself or following whatever I'm doing, it was never a really strategic plan. It was just falling into it. I kept thinking that when I grow up, I'd get a real job, but I just never did get a real job. I tried a couple of times, but ultimately it's more that it was just, well, we all know this, most of us who are on this path, who are very strongly pulled. You can look back over your childhood, you can look back over your whole life, you can look back from the time you were born, that there is that voice, that subtle knowing, that soul calling is there for everybody. But however, if your calling is to be of service, it will always show up, doesn't matter what job you're doing, So that's why I feel like it's not something I chose. It's just was always a given, because anytime I did try and do a real job or try to, follow a society recommendation, it was just misalignment to the max. And so I think that as far as knowing that it is about soul alignment and soul support, that took a little bit longer. And I think that over the years, everything I've done, all the different qualifications and different ways of supporting through fitness and then through mindset stuff and things like that, and obviously yoga and energetics, every time I went into a particular area, it just gathered more ways to support. And it wasn't really until probably even in the last 5 years that I actually stopped gathering stuff and that I let it land and went, well, what is it all leading to? What's the point? What's the actual point? And as when we are trying to say to people, what do you do when especially with the online world, when you're branding yourself or putting yourself out there and make it clear for people what is it you do, that it has to be a little bit shorter than I do everything. Well, what do you need? I'll provide. And so I really sat with it all and thought, well, okay, if I want people to be physically really optimized, why? If I want people to support people to be really in a really great mindset and see their beliefs and programming, why? If I want to support people to understand their energetic self and align their energetics, why? And all of those whys led to because of soul alignment. Like, go do deadlifts so that your body is really, really strong and fit, so that your soul has a really great place to express itself. And so no matter what it is, go and deal with the programming that society and generations and ancestors have implanted. Overcome it so that your soul can express itself, understand energetics, because we live in an energetic world, and provide what your soul needs to be able to express itself. So ultimately it all came down to soul alignment, and that way to sort of see it took 35 years or so. But it was always the reason.
Yeah, that's so cool because, like, in coming home now to a life I can manage, I never had time. Like, before I hit the road in the caravan, like, I'd come to see you for a program to, like, strengthen my back. And I'd seen two people before that to get pretty much a similar program.
Yeah.
But I never did it
Yeah.
because I just wasn't in alignment. I didn't have this time, space, mental capacity to actually start rebuilding me. That is so important. And I got knocked over by a dog the other day, like Sparks was running around, and this doofus dog, I know it's a doofus dog, and running towards me, landed on my tailbone, boom, on the back of my head. And the thing that really hit home, quite literally, was that how I pulled through that, because I had the strong foundation in my physical body. And that was like noticeable, because I was like, when that happened, I bawled my eyes out, and it was out of that trauma response of I that past self before this rebuild Belinda would have been so bad.
Yeah.
Because my physical vessel didn't have the strength to respond and then use my core and take however it responded, it had a good base. So that was and as much as it was a
No,
nice
but it's so
experience.
important, because the thing is, like, again, that really supports resilience, and there's so many nuances to that, even that experience, because people don't always see how that can correlate. Like, okay, so why is it? I have a spiritual practice. I meditate and I do energetics, so I'm fine. I my body is just a vessel, and I am a spirit, and I'm investing my time and energy into that. That's fantastic, and I think it's really important, because there's also a huge part of the population that doesn't even go there at all. However, we also are in this timeline still in the 3D realm of physicalness. And so, in that experience of falling over and being knocked over or whatever else, the fact that you trust your physical vessel, the fact that your physical vessel can protect you, can look after you, can make sure that you are safe in that body, safe because of physically, but that safe physical feeling, the fact that you can safely fall on the ground and not be bedridden for 3 months or whatever else. It's like that creates safety and trust, and that safety and trust feels like you can be at home. So there's so many layers to it. You can be at home in your body, you can trust your body, which means you can trust moving around in this scary world. And there's so many layers to why a physical body really, really supports this whole experience, and I just think it's super important. I just know I've seen it with clients, like, even clients who are physically focused and not aware of their other aspects of themselves. I still use that as a gateway or as a medium to be able to support them, like, their physical body. Okay, let's do these things. Now add the breath. Now understand your core. Now understand your core through this. And now you're going to feel better in your body if you understand the base energy centers. Don't even use the word chakra, just like comfortable. There's an energy center. It's associated to a physical body, blah, blah, blah. And so all of these things give me a bridge to have these people slowly open up to next minute they're om chanting, and next minute they're on a quantum journey, and I haven't quite got some of them onto any sort of connecting to their galactic star families or anything like that. That might be a little too far, but the vibration of chanting, they get it, and you just add some sciences. But again, this is why, like, even that experience you had is like, what a transformation, because it just means that you fell over, you had a moment, there was an experience that related to previous times, but you bounced back very quickly, and you're like, wow, this body of mine's amazing. I'm going to keep doing my exercises,
Yeah.
So
And
good.
just the strength of like, I just cried and I cried and I cried and I cried. But you have to cry because
Yeah.
that's just your body just releasing another bit of tension, another bit of tension, another bit of trauma, another bit of tears are amazing.
Yeah,
They're awesome.
for sure. Yeah.
So, so powerful. And yeah, I think that's what makes you so unique, is that blend, is that and moving into our midlife. So I'm catching up on catching up on it's crazy, and just how important it is just to stay strong, stretch, like yoga. I mean, yoga is kind of like, it's stretching for me, but it's also, I don't know, it's interesting how that's actually come into society as being stretching, but it is way more than that. But yeah, how important it is that we stay strong. I keep saying to my mum, because she spends a lot of time on the floor, and I'm like, that's amazing. Keep doing it. Keep spending time on the floor and getting back up and getting down and getting up, because we as we get older, we do fall more, and if you can get yourself back up, and I'm always like, that's really great. So now I've just got to get her. She's actually really strong in her core, and I took my big long roller. I love my roller. That has been like, it needs to be like 90 centimeters. It needs to be like a good long roller. And doing core work on that has been a game changer for bladder control.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and especially also,
Absolutely.
like, I talk a lot, like when I do core training with people, I always start with the pelvic floor and the very, very subtle pelvic floor, as opposed to transverse, which is more that belt. And a lot of people think about that belt contraction, but when you think about that real base control, that's where the vital part is, that subtle contraction of the pelvic floor, like just that pelvic floor sling. However, again, by really understanding how to do that nuanced subtle contraction, that's also the mula bandha. So it's also the contraction of that energy center, that lock, that energy lock.
Base lock.
So again, it's like nothing's separate. Nothing's separate. And if I can sell it to them by saying you're going to be able to hold on to your wee, great. I also know that it's also going to help you to be more connected energetically.
Yeah, it's so interesting because all these things, they all intertwine. It's just the vocabulary and the depth. Whether
Yeah, that's right.
yeah,
And depending on what people want. What's interesting is when we do just bring it into the physical and talk about fascia or pelvic floor or whatever else, they're still going to have the energetic experience without knowing it. They're just going to feel good and things flow differently and their health improves. And that opens them up to trusting what I'm doing. And then I can subtly drop in a little bit more and a little bit more and just sort of nudge it open to the more esoteric or stuff like that, And that's what I love the most, is just very gently holding someone by the hand and, just without them even knowing it, walking into a more broader awareness of this existence, And I can always tell when it's far enough. It's like, okay, I've reached their threshold now. We'll just stay here for a bit.
Funny. So,
Mm.
so you've been on a little bit of a journey, um, with moving back up to the Big Smoke, and yeah, so you were down at the Mount or beachside like me, and I know it's been such a change. I'm trying to think of the right words. So how are you navigating that? And like I know that you are so needed where you are,
Mm.
and I find in my heart like I have so much gratitude that you are there, and I love the fact that it's nice that you're showing up to some really powerful events, um and cities really need your gifts and your presence, because there is so much disconnection, and that's why I ran away because I couldn't do
I
it
get it. I
anymore.
get it.
It was
And
so
it's so this is, I mean, honestly, I've got butterflies in my stomach just with the realization of how it all works. And my life kind of seems to flow in like 3-year cycles. I tend to have cycles of 3 years, and then something drastic or big move happens. And sometimes that rolls into another 3 years. So it's a 6-year cycle or something like that. But what's really interesting is that I moved down to the Mount. I had my studio in Parnell, and that was a really big learning curve as well, like having the studio. And one of the reasons I wanted to have the studio was because I wanted to feel finally like I was more professional and I'm all grown up in my business. And like, these people, I've been in the industry so long, and all these other people have got studios, and I had this idea that they must be more professional than me. And so when I had the opportunity to open the studio, I did it properly, and I had a beautiful studio. I was really happy with it and all that sort of stuff. And I did do it properly, but oh my God, I hated it. It was just not me, like, man, it was a lot of work. And once I actually got into that level, and I met other studios and I saw what other people were doing, I'm like, oh, they're not having a good time either. Like there was very few people who actually like flourishing and really having a great time. So when COVID came along and I went online, that was actually a real gift, of course. I think it was a gift for many, many people, a permission slip. And my partner was living in Mount Maunganui. We were doing a bit of backwards and forwards. And so in one of the last lockdowns, the big, big lockdown, I was living in my studio changing room. And I was like, oh, this is not. So I actually thought, oh, well, I'm online anyway. So I went down to Mount Maunganui and I just didn't come back. I just came back to get my stuff and, went, right, that's it. And it was also really wonderful because it meant that like a lot of my work fell away, and that was all right because I was no longer in alignment with that. And actually, for a very long time, I felt the misalignment, but I didn't know how to change it because it had been like years and years and years of growth to that point of the clients and the way I was working, that to just stop in the middle of that was going to be too hard. So the opportunity to at first to go online, then to move, then to have about 80% of it drop away, but without any animosity, without any difficulty. It was just like, okay, the circumstances have changed, which was just sublime the way that went. And in that next 3-year period that I was down the Mount, I had an opportunity to, first of all, recover my nervous system. That took about a year to really, like, not just from the whole experience of COVID and work in the studio, but also from just the 25, 30 years of building and, working and all the things, and being on the beach and every day no shoes on, and the nature, and it's right across the road, and with my animals. And then the second year that I was there was a steep learning curve on how to work online, and I did all the mentoring courses and learn how to build your business online, and some were great, some not so much, and VAs and all the bits and pieces, so I did all of that. And then the last year that I was there, I got real clarity on what is my offer, how do I do it, and also that final year was a really, really, really beautiful conscious uncoupling of my relationship that also just happened very amicably. We were still living together and it was just good communication, but when I really got that clarity. I mean, in that 3-year period, I also had massive spiritual growth, massive insights, so much healing on every level. Like, it really was an awakening, that 3-year period. And that last year was just all about complete alignment, complete calibration, withdrawing my energy from the intertwined codependency of the relationship. And as I withdrew my energy, the rest of it just fell away really effortlessly. And then it all happened really quickly. You know, he moved out. I was in a little bit of a panic, like, oh my God, how am I going to sort it out myself here? And then the last sort of 3 months that I was there, I came up to Auckland, and the last 2 times that I left Auckland to go back down, I could feel that little seed, that little voice we were talking about that isn't in my head. It wasn't my conscious mind telling me this might be a good idea. It was just this knowing in my gut. And I was like, are you kidding? Are you serious? And the first time I felt it, I went back down there, and I'm back on my beach going, no, putting my fingers in my ears going, la, 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 la. I'm like, I'm not going anywhere. Look at this place. And the second time I went down there, I felt it again, and I was like, okay. And so then I made the decision, and literally by the time I made the decision to come back and it all felt right, it was from the time that I made the decision to being back in Auckland was like 3 weeks. And it was just so quick. Like, my flatmate was like, oh, had this lovely flatmate, and she's like, oh, well, that's okay, because I was going to go tell you I'm going overseas. And we gave up the house, which was effortless. I found somewhere to live here in Auckland. I just got gifted 2 houses to live in. One for a workspace and one to live in. And it all just went bang, bang, bang. It just happened so quickly. And so now that I'm back, the 2 or 3 days before I was leaving, I was on the beach every day in tears, breaking up with my beautiful beach and nature. And I was calling out to my teams, whatever. And I was like, do not leave me there on my own. Don't let me go into that place without you. And I came back in here, and it was a little, but honestly, I mean, this is what I mean. When you live in soul alignment, you just got to exhale, and you just got to realize that, oh my God, I've been gifted these houses to live in. I live in this central city, in this little pocket of peace. I've got nature all around me. I've got bushwalks. The bird song is deafening. It's so quiet. All around here, there's a circle of massive traffic, busy streets, but where I live, it's dead quiet. It's so peaceful. It's so beautiful. And the minute I've arrived here, old clients are contacting me, opportunities are coming. It's just like bang, 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 bang. My daughter, being able to support her. Like, honestly, I can't even begin to tell you how aligned it is. And there was a few days that I did have one day when I had a big dream. I do all my healing in dream time. And I had a bit of grieving, and I woke up feeling a little bit of grief and tearful, and, letting go of that beautiful phase of my life. And that was it. Once I integrated that, it was like, okay, cool. Now I'm just enjoying excitement and gratitude, and it's phenomenal when you surrender and know and trust. And the big word for this year really is trust. It's just like, just be in the flow, receive, receive, receive. It's beautiful. So that's how it is. Short answer.
Yeah, so it's so beautiful if you can just keep surrendering, and like the breadcrumb analogy.
Yeah.
And just like, what's next? And then, as you said, everything just flows. If everything flows, it's just, don't fight it. It's meant to be. It's so cool, eh?
And then it's right when everything just goes, things just open up. It's just phenomenal. And you just got to go, wow. It's like watching a magic unfold. And I love the magic. I love seeing the magic. It's like just seeing it unfold. It's just like, oh my God. Half the time I'm so giddy. So I'm just like, this is crazy. Just watching it unfold. It's amazing.
Yeah, so cool. And so your next retreat, is this version? How many have you done? Is this your fourth one?
My God.
Like the one I went on.
Oh, the Soulful Escape Retreat.
Yeah.
So the next Soulful Escape Retreat, this will be the fourth.
Yeah,
third or fourth. Third, actually. No, third. But I've also got a retreat before that in August, which is in Auckland, in Ayawera. And I've been running retreats there for about 15 years. So I was going through some of and I haven't run a retreat there, obviously, for the last 3 years. So I'm really excited to be returning there again, which is in the bush in Bethel's. And what's so nice about that one is that it's accessible. People come on a Friday, they leave on a Sunday. It doesn't disrupt their busy lives, but they still get away and have that opportunity to connect and align, which is, I love that. And then, later in the year is that the bigger retreat.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Because I wasn't sure whether this one that you've just announced today
Yeah.
at Aoera, it's so cool because I was like, I've been there and I went there, would have been in my 20s on a clowning camp.
Wow.
It was so much fun, and we were just dressed up, and we were clowns. We had red noses, and it was all about that, that complete inner child, and I didn't know
Amazing.
anything about that back then,
Wow. That's so cool.
and even the growth that I went through in that. But then I didn't wake up until 2000. Back when it's been 7 years since my back, I worked it out yesterday. 7 years to actually recover from burnout, an awakening. 7 years.
Wow. That sounds like that's fair enough. That's quite a lot.
Yeah, I'm just like, I was counting yesterday. It's 2018, 920. Yeah, I was like, 7 years to like actually go, okay, so I've been thrown off the train and like I've seen the world for what it is and to navigate, and I can't sit and work anymore. And 15 hours a day as a graphic designer, did the big property, tried to cope, 7 years to get to now where I'm like, there's not a huge garden. Like I
The
can
thing
actually
about it
manage
is
my
that
world.
that's not long because you think about that deprogramming and the recalibration needed to get to where you are now. That's not actually long. How many people are still in that cycle and they dream of potentially going on the journey that you've been on and they can't see that it's possible. But also sometimes the journey starts for people through an experience like that and people aren't brave enough to see it through to the end. A lot of people start that journey, they wake up, they have an experience, they have an opportunity to wake up, but it's hard, it's painful, there's losses, there's a relationship, there is standing, there is identities, there are so many things that are like it's painful, and you got to be brave and you've got to really trust your soul alignment. And this is the thing where until that connection and that voice and that knowing is strong enough for you to trust, and you build that trust and you build the evidence that you can trust it, it takes faith. It just takes leaping into the unknown, knowing that where you are is not where you needed to be. But a lot of people know they're not where they're meant to be or where they want to be, and they might start the journey and then realize what it takes, and what has to be sacrificed or what they have to let go of, and then they just retreat back to the comfort zone and just choose to live in pain, choose to live in ignorance or as in numbness. Yeah. So very
Yeah.
brave. So really 7 years is not that long when you think about the journey that you've been on to get to where you are. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. It was just I always say pain was my messenger.
Yeah.
And even yesterday, like having this migraine thing, I was actually I was behind a computer. I'm going to be really honest. I was actually behind a computer and I was in a really bad, uncomfortable position. So actually, I'd had this beautiful healing session. But it was, I think, if I unpack a little bit more, it was my body was saying, you've just had a huge download. Like I can either like whoop whoop, or or you can just
Yeah.
go to bed. And so a lot of it that's quite interesting too, and forcing me to drink, because it was like you have to drink heaps of fluids after you've had like a really significant session like that. So
Mm.
you kind of, yeah, a lot of things are coming back to the whole waking up and the pain. So pain was always my messenger. It's like and now I know that it is. I go, well, I'm not meant to be doing that. So as I rebuild into, what am I going to do now? Like now that I've got this opening of time and space, and I really felt I could never build anything. How can I mentor people and create and help the universe and everything when I'm not helping myself? That had to cut. You've got to be in alignment first, and so for me, it's like feeling pain. Okay, and I was going to keep that pain as always my messenger. And when I have no pain, I'm like, we're all good, you know?
Yeah, that's great. And what do most people do when they experience pain? They look to avoid it. They'll take either pain medicine or they'll do some behavior to avoid emotional pain. And so most people avoid pain rather than turn towards it. So, yeah, that's
Yeah,
amazing. That's
fascinating.
awesome.
It's so fascinating. I think. Yeah, it's super sad when people do. Yeah, just take something to numb it, because I've almost lost the opportunity of like that could have been the thing. That could have been the thing. Like a woof, and you're like, wow, like that's what I'm here for.
And
That's
that's why
my
your story is important, that people hear what else is possible. What else is possible, like to go from where you've been, and also that it's not just straightforward, that you wake up the next day and you decide, oh, you know what, I'm not going to live like this. I'm going to go move down to the beach. It was a bit of a journey.
But yes, and having like packing people coming in, they're like, "You're not ready to move," and I'm like, my talk about nervous system, like I couldn't even get words out because I was so stressed. I'm like, there, it's like now it's all the light language is coming in. Like the boxes weren't taped up on. You just got to take them, but I couldn't even talk, and my friends there cleaning the fridges, and it was like, oh my goodness, I just got to go like now.
And you know what I always think? It's like what I was saying about, like in the beginning of the
Honey.
year, where I had a little panic about how am I going to do this. It was actually just at the end of the year that my partner moved out, and I was only just kind of getting by financially because of how things had gone with work and stuff. And so I was like, how am I going to do it? And I thought, you know what? I just got to get through to February, because it was like Christmas, New Year's, when it's quiet with work. And I was like, I just got to get through to February. And then I just thought to myself, at some point, February will come and I would have figured it out. So all I'm worried about is, okay, how did I figure it out in February? I don't worry about December, January. It's like February means that something would have happened. Either I moved out, maybe maybe I went bankrupt, maybe somebody helped me out, whatever. Maybe I've got all of a sudden making money, whatever. But somehow I'll get to February and something I would have had an answer. It's like you know, at one point I will have moved out of this house.
Yeah.
So somehow we do this in time and space. When we look into
Yeah.
the future, somehow we did it. So
Yeah.
that sort of softens things, I think, when we're in the thick of it and go, oh my God, how am I going to do? I'm never going to do this. How am I going to sort this out? I've got no answer. It's like, yeah, there is an answer, because when you look into a month from now, you did it. So there is an answer. How to, just let it show up. Just keep showing up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The dream. Often it's the dream. Like for me, I just always had a dream of like, it was actually a little bit different because I was like really excited to work on permaculture, do some woofing or something. And of course, that's not possible with my little buddy. But yeah, I kind of saw I really wanted to travel in the caravan. I was like, well, I can't do that with my son, because it's like we did that for a few months and crayfish in the caravan, and it was an
No, I
adventure.
wouldn't recommend it to anybody, I don't think.
But yeah, so I saw a glimmer of it, and but yeah, and I was so glad. Imagine being on the property. I left now with my son not being there, and all this food and all this, like in this huge house and this.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah, no.
And this is
So yeah,
it. Soul alignment, you're living it.
yeah, super cool,
Mm.
so cool. So if you, this is my favorite. This is my closing line. And thank you so much. It's been so fun. It's been so fun and so nice to be able to. I feel like I've given back to you because you've given so much to me. Like I could, you've given me so much, and I just can't wait to now be able to keep giving back to you. So if you had a mic and you've got a mic, I do, it says hidden this year, in your hand, and you were standing in front of the world, and you could share just one message to humanity for the greater good of this beautiful planet, which is very near and dear to my heart, what would you say?
What comes to me is an analogy I used with a client the other day, a new client. And one aspect of that is stay in your lane. and that is, imagine a point of consciousness, a point of awareness, a point of energy. And you are that point, and everything that you contribute and everything that you consume is all in that point. And so are you, and so are you, and so are you, and so are you. All these points. When we are too concerned about that point, the other person's point, and we're either trying to influence them, or we are concerned about, or we are influenced by that point of awareness, we are never in true alignment and never in true authentic expression. So if we just bring it back to ourselves, every individual person, authentic self, soul aligned knowing, every single person wants health, well-being. Every single person wants to flourish, wants to thrive. And I know that we see people doing that in a way that is negatively affecting others. However, if we truly, every single one of us take ownership of our own journey and also truly express and contribute heartfelt, loving energy, which I think is at the essence of every true being, then that contribution is way more powerful than trying to influence other people's point of consciousness, because that will influence a point of consciousness, because you will flourish, you will exude wellness. And also, if we see that as a little vortex, you will only draw that equal to you in there. So your reality will be what it is you contribute. What you put out is what you receive. We know that, but stay in your lane. Focus on your little point of reference. Focus on your little vibrational vortex. What are you putting out? What are you consuming? Be really, really, really discerning, and really be aware of what that is, what you're drawing in and what you're putting out. And I think if every single one of us did that, imagine, and then I've always visualized this whole grid with all these points as being different nodes within the energetic grid. And so if each one of those nodes is contributing authenticity and that level of love and truth and integrity and all of that sort of stuff, then that has to have a positive effect. And I think it's hard not sometimes to focus on what we don't want to see. We all know that there is plenty to look at that is quite heartbreaking. However, how is that affecting us? So if you imagine that little vortex of energy being affected, the feeling that you feel when you're looking at that is what you're contributing. And as long as you see it, and that you then make sure that your frequency is not that, and that you respond in a way of, it's good to know what you don't want. And then once you know, don't keep looking at it. Once you know that I don't want that, I'm not looking at it. That's not what I'm contributing. That's not what I'm sharing. That's not the world that I'm creating. And I'm surrounding myself with people who are not that. I'm surrounding myself with people and things and experiences, and my contribution is of what I want to share. So yeah, that's probably what I would love to land, if that lands. Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how I'm starting to interpret what the new earth is that we create our own new earth and what we bring in to our world, and what we watch, what we see, what we eat, who we talk to, who we, the whole. So we what do you want to create? And we are living the new earth right now. And that's what I feel like you've just articulated. And if we can all just create what we want to create, then let's create it. There's nothing holding us back. And
That's right.
it's so
And it's
exciting.
interesting because I was talking to a friend the other day about this, and we were talking about this shift that's happening. And there are those that are kind of like at the front line, that their mission, they're in the squadron that is at the front line, and they are there to point out to things and to be quite loud about what's happening, so that people who are at that need to know are being shown. However, I can't be in that squadron, because that I would then be useless to the cause. So then I feel like the next squadron is the squadron that is creating those nodes, that is supporting people to come into soul alignment, so that the frequency that they calibrate to contributes to the field that we're building. So that as the breakthrough happens, there is somewhere to go. We've already built it. It's already there, right? And then I feel like there's also a contingent that's gathering the wounded, and the stragglers that still need a little bit of healing to come into the next realm. But I'm definitely in the squadron that is preparing the next phase. I'm not in the front line. I can't do that.
It's too intense.
It's too intense. It would just take me out, and then what's the point? What's the point?
Yeah.
Then I'm of no use. So it's an important thing to be aware of in the distinction, because sometimes those of us who really do want to be part of it, I know that sometimes I get called out for not speaking about certain things, or not, contributing or supporting certain things. And I'm like, I'm not in that squadron. That's not my role. If that's what you're called to, then you have to do that. But I'm not. I'm in the like, hey, we're building this. I'm in the speak it, abracadabra, speak the reality of what is happening. I don't speak those words. I don't bring that energy in. I don't contribute energy to that. I'm contributing energy to what we're building. We're building it. So and then there's somewhere for us to all calibrate to. So yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. Thank you so much.
It's always good. I love all of our little chats and stuff. So it's a beautiful energy, and this is what I mean. We're
Yeah.
contributing, we're talking, and every conversation and every energy alignment, we're doing it. So thank you
Yeah.
for the opportunity.
And so if people want to find my beautiful Wendy, I like the Wendy V. Do you like my Wendy V?
Yeah, I like that. I should do that. I
Wendy
should
V.
use it as a
Yeah, it's cool. That's
trademark.
kind of your signature, Wendy V.
Oh,
Uh,
cute.
how do they find you?
Well, I'm quite active on Instagram, Evolve NZ. I tend to be a little bit more active in the stories. I need to do more posts. I would like to do more posts. The other thing is my website, which is wendy-v.com. Those are probably the main two areas of connection and alignment, how to get hold of me and things like that. And the website's currently updating with like the latest offerings and things like that. So yeah, I've got a couple of retreats coming up. I've got some really cool programs happening for optimization and vitalization. So those are things that are coming up soon. So yeah, there's plenty going on. So website and Instagram would probably be my main go-tos.
Awesome. Yay. No, you're awesome. Keep being you and keep producing what you produce, because yeah, we're so lucky to have you.
Oh, thank you. I wouldn't be doing anything if you weren't here, and if people like you weren't here, because you just be Thank you.
Yeah. Yay.